to a lot of people. So I'm really excited to see how his team will line out.
Emenike, to be precise. I mean, I think he's been playing a lot of positions in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why when you play that kind of formation, it suits your top striker. Because that's where you want him to be at all times.
But you need to be careful if you have slow defenders. Because with that formation, you expect your defenders to be able to come out, and then those two guys fall back for them.
It's also not written, you know, it's not also, it's not cast in stones, you know. All these things are also specifically, you can tweak them, you can mix them around during games. For example, when you score goals early, you can change the formation. And if you're looking to defend your goals, also you can change the formation as well.
Austin, also, there is no coach in the world today who plays with slow defenders. When you have particularly pacey attackers, and you have slow defenders, you're as good as dead. So pace is a must, not only for strikers, but for everybody. Maybe not the keeper. Maybe the keeper. You have to be able to make short sprints to the edge of your box to probably clear danger, to probably receive the ball. So no coach wants his sort to play with slow defenders.
I totally agree. You see, when we started the show, these guys said they were defensive midfielders. Now they are coaches, they are tacticians. Let's put you into this also. You know, it gets interesting when you're part of the fun. What do you think Coach Sunday Olise should play with his new team? 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1. Just tell us. Let's also make you a coach tonight on the show. Quickly, Wahid, Coach Samson and Coach Sunday Olise says we no longer have superstar players. Do you agree?
Well, I think to some extent I do agree, because if you look at the leagues these guys are playing at, you know, Russia, in they're not Slovakia, you know, so that does not mean that they're not very good as well, but it shows that we don't have superstar players no more. We need to look for them, we need to develop them, and that's where I see Olise's job being hard. He has to go digging and find these superstars for Nigeria.
Your team in 1990, would they beat this
I'll be honest with you, so it also depends on who do you ask, you know. But I'll tell you, back in those days, the confidence was there, the stars were there, and of course, what do you expect? You go out and win games.
Greece in 2004 won the European Championship with a team made up without star players in quotes. That shows what is possible. That when you raise the team over the individual, you can achieve so many things.
Coach Samson Siasia is trying to build a team that will represent Nigeria at the African Games in Congo, Brazzaville. But there is a new worry. Clubs are refusing to release players. What's going on?
Well, I'll be honest with you, you know, Samson started, you know, looking for players that will play for his team and win. And of course, the last 3 or 4 months, he's been able to achieve that. And what next is these guys have to graduate to the next level. And as such, a lot of them are looking for clubs. A lot of them have gotten clubs. And as such, Samson also have to go back to the drawing board and look for newer players. That's my take on that. Because you cannot stop a player, really, from graduating from under 23 to the national team. Or from, you know, looking for teams and then eventually getting a team and you said you will not travel out. That's the reason why he's having those problems right now.
In my opinion, I think this role will always continue for as long as the current status quo exists. The truth is, the Nigerian Football Federation has totally, do I use the word, well, they've totally subjugated the clubs in such a way that even the clubs don't even know their rights. I mean, you find these players, you scout them, you pay good money to acquire their services, and the national teams collect them from you or impound them and put them in camp for months or weeks at end, and your assets, players who you paid good money for in order to be able to win you titles, win you matches, get you points on the board and achieve your season's objectives, are not available to you. So this role will always, and the truth is the clubs themselves don't even know their rights. They don't know what it is that is due to them. And that is why the Nigerian national teams have consistently continued to do this. If the clubs are complaining and refusing to release their players, they are well within their rights to do so. They found these players. They pay their wages. So, and the truth is the national team cannot pay the wages of these players for a consistent level for as long as they choose.
Well, I think you're right. It's always the case all over the world. You know, players come, graduate, and go to the next level. And as such, you know, the coach must always have a backup. That's what I think. You know, if you don't have good backups for your team, national team to be precise, then you'll be having problems with all these clubs. They pay their wages. They have to take care of them when they're not with you.
Can the English national team keep Wayne Rooney in camp for 4 weeks?
Well, it's not possible. That's very unheard of, you know.
A man earns almost £250,000 he's supposed to, for his club, not his national team. he's supposed to play for his club. So there has to be a kind of balance between the national teams and the coaches. And that was what Coach Stephen Keshi was trying to do in the past. The players will be in camp from Monday up until Thursday. They will travel on Friday, play for their clubs on Saturdays or Sunday, and return back to camp. So that is the balance they can strike. Because these clubs who also they gain tremendously from this. They are being coached by a national team coach. They are being taught excellent tactics, excellent ways to go about doing their business, bring exposure. They rub minds with the best players in Nigeria and beyond. That can only serve to help your team when they go back to the club. The few tricks that they picked up, they impart it to their teammates. The few tactics they picked up, they impart it to their teammates. So in that way, there's a kind of symbiotic relationship between club and national team.
Well, so something's constrained, to be honest with you. I think it's the All African Games. Because the thing is just around the corner.
It's just 8 players in camp.
In the camp, and that's a serious issue for him.
He needs to going on.
Exactly, league is going on. And this place also
business end of the league.
Exactly.
Some are fighting relegation. Some are looking for continental tickets. Some are just happy with mid-table mediocrity. Every club has a target of what they want to achieve, and they can only achieve these targets with the players.
Exactly.
So some kind of balance has to be struck with the national teams.
Well, I trust him. I think he will find a way around it. Probably look for new players as well to just get a good backup. That's what I think he should do.
And that's what he's done. He has invited 3 more players to beef up the team. The invited players are Stephen Eze of Sunshine Stars, Lawal Shitu of Giwa, and then Christian Hiagara. So I thought Coach Samson Siasia did the right thing by looking inwards. But this is a new worry for him. And you guys are not even helping matters. I don't even know the way out of this.
No, it's actually difficult.
If they are available, if they are out of the country on a competition, it's understandable. But if you are within the borders of the country, training in the national camp, are not available to their clubs, then there will be trouble.
And I also remember the window season, closes 31st of August.
Exactly.
Internationally.
So
a lot of these players want to go out.
Move to Albania. And,
big pay. They're actually looking for big pay anyway, so they must find a way to, better their pay.
I said I was going to leave it for the last. A lot of reactions. These guys have given me reactions about the Super Eagles invited players.
Right.
What's your take on it, Wahid?
Well, somehow I'm happy that for the first time in a long time, the technical committee or technical group or whatever you have not actually sat down to dictate who the coach invites. That's a big plus for Olise.
Good.
And if they can keep it that way, then we all have the coach to look up onto. So Olise has the right to invite anybody he wants. Of course, he also has the right to say, well, I'm not going to invite this particular player this time around, and I'll invite you next time. But of course, we also have the right to actually ask him the reasons why he has not invited some players. So my take is that he selected the players that he thinks, he must have looked at these players all around. Not for 1 game, not for 2 games, probably like 3 or 4 games. So I think he's right to have invited the players, except that other people are saying, where's Odion Igalo? I will also ask him that, where's Odion Igalo? Of course, he's giving all the good reason for not inviting him. You can only select 2 players by position. But people will also say Odion merited it. Odion is one of the top players in Europe right now, scoring goals, and of course, maybe the style of play that won't fit, his formation for this particular game.
Okay, but let's talk about your specialty, defensive midfield.
Right.
No Onazi, no Mikel Obi.
No the names City.
So with the names you've seen, Aruna Lukman,
Nwako Obiora,
Joel
Obi, let me be honest with you, I think probably the new faces we have on that list is probably just 2 of them. Every other player has been around one way or the other. So I've seen Obiora played. If he really wants to play, I think he's a very good defensive midfielder. And of course, Lukman Aruna also, if he allow him play, if he brings down his ego a little bit, he can also perform very well.
A lot.
Okay. Let me say a lot. Okay, so if he brings that down, he can also play very well. And of course, when you can have 2-3 defensive midfielders in that team, they stabilize that team. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the back line. The back line has been consistent from the last game, which is very good for Olise. It means Olise must have seen them play to have brought back all those players again, and that's a good plus for him. I believe so.
It also helps. Defense is also particularly key because I'm sure Wahid would agree. There has to be a level of understanding between defensive partners.
Exactly.
Who is where, who is covering you, when to who is doing what for you. Defense is particularly key. Every successful team in the world, be it the club team, be it the national team, is built on the foundation of a good defense. And the understanding between central defenders has to be almost telepathic.
Brothers.
You know, and the understanding between the fullback and his cover and the central defender by his side also has to be extremely good. You know, when so I'm guessing this is what informed him calling back the same